There's nothing simple or trivial at all about the idea of being called to move forthrightly forward into the strange and the unknown. And there's a real adventure that's associated with that, right? So that's an exciting thing, which is part of the reason why people travel. And then also to see yourself as the sort of creature that can do that, is willing to do that on a habitual basis, is also the right kind of tonic for, I hate this word, for your self-esteem. You know, because the self-esteem has nothing to do with feeling good about yourself. As I already mentioned, there isn't necessarily a reason why a priori you should just feel good about yourself. But if you can view yourself acting in a courageous and forthright manner and encountering the world and trying to improve your lot and taking risks, you know, in a non-naive way, well, then you have something that you can comfort yourself with at night when you're wondering what the whole damn point of your futile and miserable life. And that's necessary, because it's often the case that you wake up at 4 in the morning, or at least sometimes the case that you wake up at 4 in the morning when things haven't been going that well, and wonder just what the hell the point is of your futile and miserable life. You have to have something real to set against that. It can't be just rationalizations about how, you know, you're a valuable person among others, even though that's true. That's not good enough. You need something that's more realistic to set against that. And observing courage in yourself is definitely one of the things that can help you sleep soundly at night when things are destabilized a little bit around you. So, back to the covenant, God tells Abraham, "I'll make my covenant between me and thee, and will multiply thee exceedingly." And Abram fell on his face, and God talked with him, saying, "As for me, behold, my covenant, my contract is with thee, and thou shalt be a father of many nations. Neither shall thy name any more be called Abram, but thy name shall be called Abraham, for a father of many nations have I made thee." And Abram means high father, and Abraham father of a multitude. "And I will make thee exceedingly fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. And I will establish my covenant between me and thee and thy seed after thee in their generations for an everlasting covenant, to be a God unto thee and to thy seed after thee. And I will give unto thee and thy seed after thee the land wherein thou art a stranger, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God." I love that line, really, the line about the land where you are a stranger, you know. And everything that happens in the Bible, almost everything that happens in these more archaic stories in particular, is laid out geographically. The metaphor is geographic. So you move to a land that you haven't yet occupied, maybe that's full of strangers, and then the land is what's granted to you. But it's perfectly reasonable to think about this from the perspective, from a more abstract perspective, that's much more relevant to modern people with our incredibly complex societies. You know, it's definitely the case that if you go into the land of the stranger, which is exactly what you do when you try out any new endeavor, right? When you start a new job, or when you start a new educational enterprise, or when you start a new relationship, doesn't matter. You're out there in unexplored territory. Like, the physical geography is the same, but we don't live in the spatial world only. We live in the temporal spatial world. And what that means is that the same place can be different at a different time. I mean, it can be completely different. And so if you're in your house, but you have a new person in your house, well, your house is new for all intents and purpose, because the territory surrounding that new person is the territory of the foreigner, essentially. And the same thing happens to you when you start a new job. And you'll find that when you start a new job, especially if you've stretched yourself a little bit beyond your zone of comfort, that you very much feel like an imposter, right, when you're first there. And then the question is, well, how do you master that? And the answer to that seems to be, well, it seems fairly straightforward. If the place that you're in has any degree of possibility, if it isn't inhabited by demons, so to speak, the best way to act is to lift your aim upward and attempt to get your act together and to tell the truth and to live a meaningful life and to do difficult things, all of that. And that is the best way of mastering a new territory. And in all probability, the degree to which you're able to act that out is precisely proportionate to the degree to which you're going to become a master in that territory. And that sort of thing can happen a lot faster than people think. You know, it's really quite remarkable how fast you can move forward if you can establish yourself somewhere and prove yourself useful, assuming that you're around people to whom proving yourself useful actually matters. Like, I know perfectly well that you can end up in an employment situation where you're punished for your virtues, right? In which case you should just get the hell out of there. And really, you get out of there and you go find somewhere where if you work hard and do what you're supposed to do, you're actually going to be rewarded. right? Because that's not a workplace, that's hell, and you should just leave there.